We're not here to start no trouble. We're just here to do the Super Bowl show.
All right, everybody, I'm Anthony.
And I'm Eric.
And welcome to Total Football Talk. It's the NFL edition. A lot of things to kind of go over. Bengals, Ravens, we talked about that game last week. I'll start with that one. I think the Bengals are the real deal. I think in a very weak and pathetic AFC, you could very well see a Jacksonville Jaguars-Cincinnati Bengal Conference Championship game. We talked about that. There were three things that I took away from that Bengal game. Number one is the Bengals have more weapons than they even know how to use. Number two, their defense is playing lights-out football right now. And number three, that offense is humming because the Ravens' defense we know is pretty good, and they tore them up for 34 points. So, if you're a Bengal fan, guys, right now, you know, and I do want to make one other correction. I said back in week one that was the first time that the Bengals had played the Colts in Indy since 1988. I was wrong. It was 1989. So it was the year after they won the Super Bowl. They went into the Hoosier Dome and played the Colts. So just a little fun fact there. Anyway, go ahead, E.
You know, the Bengals are actually a very good surprise. I will tell you why. And it is Andy Dalton being in Bill Lazor's offense for now 16 games. He's got over 3,900 yards passing in those 16 games. He has over 30 touchdowns in those 16 games, and he has 9 interceptions in those 16 games.
Yeah.
Bill Lazor is the reason for the Bengals turnaround. And they can go back to early last year when they fired their offensive coordinator and brought in Bill Lazor and said, run our offense. It took a couple of weeks, but they're finally clicking on all cylinders. They are a real threat in the AFC this year. Not just the North, the whole AFC.
Yeah, I agree. And here's the thing about the Bengals that I want to say. You know, Eric, Andy Dalton has been my favorite NFL player since he got into the league. And I'm just really glad to see him, you know, finally in a system that can really utilize his talent. I followed him a little bit at TCU. I'm not going to lie, the year the Texas Christian Horned Frogs made it to the Rose Bowl, that was really the only time I ever followed Andy Dalton. And I watched the Horned Frogs a lot that year because I kept hearing about this quarterback and this offense. And I got to tell you, when he went pro and he went to Cincinnati and he did what he did his rookie year, and I saw how much people crapped on him, I was as angry as I was about Jared Goff being crapped on after his rookie year. And what was really befuddling about Andy Dalton is he led his team to the playoffs the rookie year. You know, and everyone's like, oh, we can't win a playoff game. I'm not going to get into a tangent on that, but no quarterback in NFL history has ever won a playoff game by themselves. At some point, you need a strip sack like Philadelphia had in the Super Bowl. At some point, you need a running back to get those tough yardage and convert, you know, the game into the final minutes. Or you need a kicker to make a field goal. No quarterback can single-handedly win a game. All he can do is throw it. He can't catch it. He can't run it if he hands it off. He can't play defense, and he can't put the ball through the pipes. This isn't 1935, and that ain't friggin' Sammy Baugh back there. So, I'm going to really look forward to seeing Andy Dalton make the playoffs and watch the Bengals be totally overlooked and then watch Cincinnati dominate at home and go to the championship game because I think this team is a 2 seed and Jacksonville's a 1 seed right now. Am I overselling the Cincinnati Bengals right now, E?
You know, the Bengals, though, I hate to pick them and be like, oh, they're going to be great. Still the Bengals. Until they take that next step. Like, I just can't do it until they start doing it and doing it more.
All right. I think that's fair. The next game on the docket, Eric, is Carolina at Atlanta. I know you want to talk a little bit about this game. I was impressed with the Falcons, but I'm not real impressed with the Falcons because I was pleased with what they did in Philly in their loss. I talked about that last week. I knew they would beat Carolina. The Panthers are pathetic. The Saints aren't very good. It's down to the Buccaneers, and they're playing lights out right now. We'll talk about them later. I just think Atlanta is the best team in that division. Possibly. I say possibly now. But I think they're certainly better than Carolina, and it was no surprise that Carolina won, or that Atlanta won the game. But go ahead.
Yeah, the Falcons, they actually got their offense humming along. They didn't have Devontae Freeman. He's out a couple of weeks with a knee bruise. So Tevin Coleman carried the rock for Atlanta, 107 yards. Matt Ryan got back on track. He was a little off Philadelphia, but he got back on track. Cam Newton had a really good day, but they were playing from behind, so he got a lot of stats late in the game. And I'm telling you, if you guys ever get a chance to watch Carolina, just keep your eyes on Christian McCaffrey. The dude was a stud at Stanford. He's a stud with Carolina. They just got to be able to build around him. He's not the one who's going to be able to tote the rock all 3 downs. They're going to bring in C.J. Anderson, which is fine because then McCaffrey can, line up and either in the backfield with Newton or in the slot and catch like short passes, and he can take them 90 yards if he needs to. But the Panthers defense, Kuechly still isn't 100%. I mean, when is he ever really? But it's good for Atlanta to get the win at home on their own. In their dome, get those fans getting going. Because if they started out 0-2, it could have had a different look going into week 3 for Atlanta.
Yeah. Look, Houston, Tennessee. I don't know what's going on with Houston.
Did you see the trick play?
Yeah.
A freaking trick play.
That was a great play. That was, and that was a close game, and that's the difference in the game. But I think everybody kind of expected Houston, I know I did, to play better against a weakened Tennessee team. I mean, no DeMarco Murray all year long. No Mariota, really, for some of this game, if not all of this game.
DeMarco Murray retired.
I know. So they're weakened already right from the start. It's one running back now that you've got to focus on, not the two-headed threat. And then they didn't even have their quarterback in the lineup, but yet they pull off the victory. So I'm more concerned about Houston right now than I am about Tennessee. Tennessee is a 400. They're a 500 ball club. They're going to be hovering around 6-10, 8-8 all year long. But Houston was supposed to be the team that was really going to push the envelope on Jacksonville. And I've not been impressed with Houston in any of their games this year.
Houston needs to learn how to pass block if they want to keep Deshaun Watson upright and healthy all year. Listen, they're a completely different offense. Read it anywhere. They're a completely different offense when Will Fuller is on the field. That's who they need. They need him to stay healthy. It opens up more running lanes. It opens up more passing lanes, especially for Fuller to get his hands on the ball, and also for DeAndre Hopkins too. Because this way, if Fuller is not in the game, okay, Hopkins is double covered.
Yeah.
Both low and high. So, Watson, he's still coming back from that ACL tear from last year. He's not. I don't think he's 100%. I don't think he'll be 100% until a few more weeks. But they need to pass block somebody. He's taken the most sacks of anybody so far this season. But their defense is still legit, obviously. They just got beat on a trick play by I believe it was a fake punt.
Yeah, it was a fake punt.
And Mariota's not even Mariota. I don't even know if Mariota played, to be honest with you.
He didn't.
He obviously didn't pass, but I didn't know if he was in there for any running plays. But when you lose to Blaine Gabbert, you know you had a bad day.
First of all, Mariota didn't play. And if you're going to be a playoff team who's projected to really be a threat in the conference, you can't lose to Blaine Gabbert. You just can't do that. As far as I'm concerned, Houston is a done 0-2. You know, they are not going to go down in history as one of those teams that went 0-2 and made the playoffs. And at this point, I don't know if they're good enough to go 500 because they've got a coach that doesn't know how to coach, and they've got an offensive line that doesn't know how to block. I mean, how hard is it? You've got that defense. You've got that quarterback coming back from that injury, and you can't hand the football off? If your game plan isn't run 60% of the time, play action pass 30% of the time, and only 10% of the time do you go intermediate to deep, I don't care how predictable it is, you should be good enough talent-wise to beat the two team, at least Tennessee, and a couple of the other games on their schedule. Muddle through this till Deshaun Watson shows he's ready and build your running game. But this friggin' idiot, and it doesn't surprise me, he's a Patriot disciple, which means he doesn't know how to coach because nobody under Bill Belichick has ever learned how to coach. Which makes me question how good of a coach he really is. Because to be great, you have to have a legacy that you leave behind. You have to have coaches. You look at Bill Parcells, Vince Lombardi, George Allen, Tom Landry, Bill Walsh, hell, even George Seifert. You have to have a coaching tree. And at this point, I will never hire a Patriot assistant. I would, if my GM did, I'd fire him upon the hiring. And then I'd fire the coach. You have a shorter tenure than friggin' McScandals did in Indy. So, I just don't know. I'm not trying to say that Bill Belichick isn't a great coach, because he is. But obviously, he doesn't share his knowledge with his staff. That's unequivocally obvious. And if anybody wants to argue with me on that, you're kidding yourself. So, it's such a basic game plan. With the talent they have, they should be running it, and they're not. So, at this point, Houston next week plays the Giants, and I don't know if they're going to win that game. Right? Because if they couldn't stop Blaine Gabbert, they're going to stop Saquon Barkley and Odell Beckham Jr.? We'll see. I mean, I'm picking them because they're home, but that's going to be rough. All right? Now, Tampa Bay, Philadelphia in the WTF game of the week. I know Nick Foles was starting, and I know Fitzmagic is playing out of his mind, but dang, that was an eye-opener. And Tampa Bay is obviously, in my opinion, going to be that surprise NFC team that comes out of nowhere this year, like the Saints last year. I think we all felt Philly was going to be good. Not that good. I think we all felt Minnesota would be good. The Rams would be good. I mean, hell, we picked them to make the playoffs, those three teams. But the Saints, for me, were the surprise. I didn't have them going to the playoffs. And maybe that's Tampa this year. I don't know. But, wow. Impressive win. And I got to give credit where credit's due. The beard rub is weird before the game that Fitzpatrick does with his buddy. That's weird. It's never not going to be weird. It's awkward. But what he did in his post-game was the friggin' greatest thing I've ever seen. And when they asked him if any of that stuff was his, he said just the chest hair. I piddled a little bit in laughter. It was the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life. I'm kind of rooting for him. But as far as my analysis of that game, they took advantage of what the Eagles gave them. And people need to wake up and realize that the Buccaneers have weapons that can take short passes to the house. So you better get up tighter. I know you're afraid of their speed, but you can't give them that kind of room to run. And you better tackle this football team. Because if you don't tackle the Buccaneers, they're going to turn into a 75-yard touchdown. Just ask Philadelphia. Your take?
Twice.
Yeah, twice. What's your take, bud?
My take, A, how do you let Deshaun Jackson beat you? I really have to know that. How do you let Deshaun Jackson, of all people, beat you for a long touchdown?
especially when you're Philly.
Then, let me ask you a question. Who did Ronald Darby play for before Philadelphia?
I don't even know.
The dude forgot how to tackle. He whiffed on O.J. Howell.
Oh, big time.
Okay? Whiffed on O.J. Howell. Hence why he had a 75-yard touchdown. Or 75-yard touchdown catch and run.
Yeah.
So he played a little defense, and Philadelphia's 2-0.
Yeah.
But you know what? As far as Fitzpatrick goes, I mean, he is having one heck of a start to the season. And with back-to-back 4-touchdown games, I mean, only Patrick Mahomes is actually off to a better start.
Yeah.
Technically.
Yeah.
But Fitzpatrick has about 250 more yards passing. So, I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. And I read a very interesting stat about something that Fitzpatrick has done, or the first time Fitzpatrick has done something since 2004. See if I can find it really quick. But it also had to do with Billy Volek. When was the last time you heard Billy Volek?
God, what? 90s?
2004.
Wow.
Yeah. Let's see. Don't look like I could find it at this time. Oh, here we go. He's the third player since 1970's NFL-AFL merger to record consecutive games with 400 yards passing and 4 touchdowns, joining Dan Marino in 84 and Billy Volek in 2004.
Wow. Who did Billy Volek play for?
Tennessee.
Oh, my gosh.
He is the first player since the merger to do so in the first 2 games of this season. So not any time, during the season, but in the first 2 games of the season. That's how disgusting that is.
It is disgusting. And speaking of disgusting, 1986. That's the last time a team named the Kansas City Chiefs went into Pittsburgh and beat the Steelers. And it was the last game of the year, and it got the Chiefs into the playoffs. And they did it on a block punt. They didn't do it on a block punt. They did it on a Mahomes touchdown. 6 friggin' touchdowns. Now, Ben Roethlisberger wasn't to be outdone. He put up 48 friggin' fantasy points. I know all too well because I'm like, oh, I might be able to come back and win this thing. Touchdown, yards. I'm like, enough, Ben. But he had to because Mahomes was like, I think I'm going to touchdown. You know what? Touchdown. It was like, what is good? Does anybody play defense in Pittsburgh? Wearing a Chief or Steeler uniform?
Not since Ryan Shazier went down.
That's the truth. It has blown me away. I'll give Mahomes all the credit in the world. I think he's a really good quarterback, and he's able to get the ball downfield a little bit more than Alex Smith, a lot more than Alex Smith. I don't think this is going to sustain, and I'm not going to sit here and say he's the greatest quarterback that ever lived because that's Sam Darnold if you listen to the experts. But I think he has potential to be a really special quarterback in the future. And the AFC needs fresh faces because I know I'm not the only one that's getting really tired of seeing Ben Roethlisberger and Tom Brady. It's getting
you might not
old.
See it this year.
It's getting old. So to have some fresh faces, it's nice. And Mahomes, he's nice. He's a really nice ball player, and I'm going to give him the same courtesy that I gave Jared Goff. I'm going to give him 3 years. And no, I don't count last year. He played 1 game. So let's see what he does this year in his true rookie year. Let's see what he does in year 2. And by year 3, I'll give you my honest assessment on where this kid's at. I don't want to put too much pressure on him based on 2 games. And I certainly don't want to get, I'm not going to get on the kid because there's nothing to get on the kid about. Travis, it's almost like the Chiefs are like, okay, look, Kelsey didn't get his yards last week. He's getting them this week. Okay, Tyreek Hill, you got your yards the last 2 weeks. now we're going to focus on Kareem Hunt. I mean, this football team, they've got weapons upon weapons upon weapons. But that defense, that's a liability in Kansas City.
Yeah, there's no Eric Berry back there right now.
No. So I don't think the Chiefs are going to be a threat to Jacksonville and the 2 seed because of their defense. But, man, that offense is going to put up a lot of points, and they're going to be fun to watch. It's going to be like the Chargers in the early 80s.
I don't know if you guys watch or if anybody else plays fantasy football besides Anthony and I. But I was watching Fantasy Football Now, and they went to the reporter in Pittsburgh, and she was like, they talked about Travis Kelce, and I asked, why was Travis Kelce not part of the game plan? And who she was interviewing for the Chiefs during the week, this wasn't aired at all. We're like, well, you were watching the wrong thing. And she's like, how so? Well, we asked Travis Kelce to block. Okay, that's what he was asked to do. He'll be more involved in the game plan this week, and boy, was he ever. I believe he had 2 touchdown catches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Steelers have no defense right now. They're still searching for an identity. I don't think that they missed Le'Veon Bell. I still think they might be 0-1-1 without if they had Le'Veon Bell. James Conner was taken out of the game early as far as game planning because Pittsburgh was down 21-0 in the blink of an eye. And then when you snapped your fingers, Pittsburgh tied it up 21-21. Only to have Kansas City go ahead 28-21.
Yeah.
So it was get out to a big lead, come back, get out to a big lead, actually hold it, and Pittsburgh had to come back, and it was actually funny, 21-0 after the first, and then 21-21 at halftime, and then that's when the Chiefs scored in the third quarter to take the lead for good. But Roethlisberger played well at home. You always expect Roethlisberger to play well at home. You typically expect him to play a little bit poorer on the road, which is typical Roethlisberger. But the wide receiver to watch right now is Juju Smith-Schuster. He's having a phenomenal. Actually, going back to Week 15 last year, he's having a phenomenal last 5 games. He's the top Pittsburgh wide receiver now. Antonio Brown still gets his, obviously, and I expect him to have a pretty big game in Week 3 against Tampa. But he's not going anywhere. We all know he's frustrated. Listen, Pittsburgh is not used to starting out the season this way, so yeah, there's a little saltiness in that locker room right now. But I do expect them to turn the corner and get a win. When I don't know if they can't beat Tampa. I mean, they're staring at 0-2-1, someplace they haven't been at for a while. Because after Tampa, then you start your division game with Baltimore, then you get Atlanta, then you go to Cincinnati, and then you get the Browns again. So, it's a tough stretch. They really don't have anybody easy on their team or on their schedule. They don't have an easy team to play until they play the Raiders in December at Oakland.
Now, of course, when you look at their schedule before the year started, that had a very different feel to it.
Absolutely it did.
They're only challenging.
We don't talk about the Le'Veon Bell situation that much, but it has an effect. It affects the locker rooms. The guys have already come out and said, "Oh well, sign your franchise tag. We're the ones who block for you. We should be the ones who get the money." And that kind of rubbed Bell the wrong way. But he doesn't want to tote the rock 400. He doesn't want to have 400 touches, and he wants to save himself for free agency. Listen, if you're going to save yourself for free agency, okay, come in, say don't play me, or maybe I'll run a route. I'll play special teams or something. I don't know. All I would be doing is feeding him the ball the whole time. Be like, you're going to touch it 20, 35 times a game.
Which is why he won't come out.
I don't care.
That's why he won't come out. I don't fault Le'Veon Bell in this situation at all. I'm sorry, but the league has lost its damn collective mind. They seem to think all you need is a quarterback. You don't need O-line. You don't need wide receivers. You don't need tight ends. You don't need running backs. You just need a quarterback. The next dynasty will have a Hall of Fame running back in its backfield. Period. And this passing happy bullcrap that's going on, it's not going to last. Because at some point, somebody out there is going to go, okay, we're going to build this way so we can stop these a-holes, and we're going to build this way because they don't have an answer. And they're going to need to draft answers, and that's going to take several years. Le'Veon Bell deserves money. That man was 80% of their offense the last however many years he's been in Pittsburgh. And to turn around and pay Antonio Brown,
which they should,
Ben Roethlisberger,
which they should,
the guys on defense, and then tell Le'Veon Bell you're worthless as tits on a bull. Yeah, I'm not playing for you either. No other position in football are you allowed to get cheap shotted anymore, except running back. Are you allowed helmet-to-helmet contact with no repercussions on the defense, except at running back? You're allowed to grab a guy and rip him by the face mask and break his friggin' neck. 15-yard penalty, but you're not kicked out of the game. Meanwhile, if you fart and the stench reaches the nostrils of the wide receiver, it's a targeting penalty and you're out of the game. This position handles the rock as much more than any other position on the field except quarterback. It is unprotected, its lifespan is 3 years, and its vitalness to a good offense is second to only the quarterback. The Rams proved that last year when they went to the playoffs and won a division with relatively no wide receivers. So, I don't want to hear it. At some point, he should get paid. And if they're not going to pay him, why would he waste a year of his NFL lifespan on a football team that has every intention? Let's face it, this is all Pittsburgh wants to do. Use him up and kick him out. If this was any other position, we'd be talking about how the Steelers are out of line here. How they're unacceptably out of place and out of touch. But because we don't like the running back position, because, it's boring, we just act like Le'Veon Bell's in the wrong. Yeah? If I'm Le'Veon Bell, I go, you should get the money, huh? What's your record without me? Because we wouldn't be 0-2 if I was there. Or 1-1-1. You go ahead and think that this free agent kid out of college that beat cancer is better than me. Go for it. Good luck with that. You go ahead and run with that all year long. I'm going to save my body. I'm going to show up 6 weeks before it's due to play. And I'm not putting on a uniform. And when the year is over, I'm going to go to an NFL team that's going to appreciate me. And trust me, somebody will pay him the money.
Who do you think that is?
I don't know yet. It's going to depend on how this year shapes out. I think Detroit could be a team in the fold, especially with Matthew Stafford and how much they like to throw the ball. I think
He loves to throw the ball.
Yeah. Don't even get me started on that, Eric. I'm going to go on another rant. San Francisco, because I think they realize Britta and these guys aren't going to be, they're not Le'Veon Bell. And if they're going to compete with the Rams, they're going to need a running back as every bit as good as Todd Gurley.
Let me ask you this. I'm going to throw a team out there.
Okay.
I want you could say yes or no, but if you want to back up with the claim, feel free. I'm going to throw this team out here. Seattle.
Yeah, why not? They got the money, and they're not going to invest it in the offensive line, so why not dump it off to him and let him do his damage? He'd instantly help that football team. Do I think Seattle would pay him the money? No. You want to know a team that I think would? The Raiders.
Cleveland?
The Raiders. Marshawn Lynch is done after this year. Could you imagine Le'Veon Bell in that offense?
It'd be really interesting. That would really stew under Pittsburgh's fans' noses.
Oh, for sure. And you don't think Le'Veon Bell knows that?
sure he does.
Absolutely. All right. Enough with Pittsburgh. We missed a game. I want to go back. Washington, Indy. Great to see Andrew Luck back. Ibram is loving this new offense that he's in. The Redskins really disappointed me. Really disappointed me in this game. Alex Smith, are we done? I like Alex Smith. I think he's a winning quarterback, and I think he should be a starter in the NFL. But really, you traded him and chose him over Kirk Cousins? How you liking that right now? Is that feeling pretty good down in Washington? Because I know as a Redskins fan, because that's my other NFC team, I only root for 3 teams. The Redskins are 2. It pisses me off. Captain Checkdown did it again. 6 points, couldn't move the ball on the ground, made him ineffective. Meanwhile, I'm watching Kirk Cousins throw for 9,000 yards. This was as predictable as the sunrise. Indy's an improved football team. I told you, Eric, I didn't pick Indy, but I told you I had a feeling about Indy in this game. Andrew Luck, ladies and gentlemen, is just that damn good. That he can win single-handedly on his own, provided he has protection, which the O-line is providing. Now let's look at the Colts offensive line. They have the number 1 center in all of pro football. I said it. The kid from Alabama, I said was going to be the next Russ Grimm. How you like me now? The guard they got from Notre Dame, the best guard to come out of college in 25 years. Yeah, he's sitting right next to Allen. You got this rookie kid, or this 2-year pro, that's gotten into the starting position playing the other guard. The interior offensive line on Indy may be the very best in all of pro football. Now they've just got to focus on the outsides, which is easier to find in a draft than a guard, I would argue. The Colts are going to continue to build this way. I love Frank Reich as a coach. I think he's got his crap together, and I think he's a damn good coach. I love what they're doing with the running game. I love that T.Y. Hilton is able to flash again because he's got a quarterback to get him the ball, and I'm excited for Ibram. I really am. I mean, as much as I love the Redskins, this didn't pain me to see. It actually kind of warmed my heart a little bit as a football fan to see Andrew Luck have that kind of success. The defense is playing better. I mean, there's not a lot to say about Washington. Look, they held this football team that has the best interior line in football to 21 points. I got to give credit where credit's due. But if you watch this game, and I did, Washington was never in it. You never got the feeling the Redskins were going to win this game. You just didn't. And I tip my hat to Andrew Luck, Frank Reich, and that football team. And I think the Colts, they're going to surprise a lot of people this year. I don't know if they'll make the playoffs, Eric, but they're going to be in the conversation at the end of the year.
You know, Washington looks so different from week 1 to week 2.
It's crazy.
You just kind of want to know what happened. Jordan Reed wasn't involved. The only person that Alex Smith really targeted was Chris Thompson. He had like 10 catches for 81 yards of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And they just couldn't move the ball against Indy. Listen, I think that was just a bad game for Washington. I'm not sold on Luck just yet. 2 games in after missing a year and a game.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to see it against better competition. I thought Washington would be a better competition, but apparently they just decided to mail in the game before they even went. Even the fans mailed in the game.
Yeah.
They had 57,000 when they typically average about 79,000 for a home game.
Yeah.
Especially the first game of the season. Come on, guys.
Well, I think that's the anthem, Eric. Attendance league wide is down.
Yeah. I'm going to give the Redskins 1 or 2 more weeks, and I'm going to give the Colts 1 or 2 more weeks. If they stay competitive in the next couple of games, and Luck has some good games, then I'll start to turn on both teams depending on the way they're going. But you know, I'm gonna watch from afar, I guess you could say. I'll keep an eye on him, but I'll watch from afar. I don't think Ebert is going to keep it up. Go's got a lot more targets. He's got more yards. He just doesn't have the touchdowns.
Yeah.
I mean, Hilton. I think Hilton needs to run some shorter routes to get him the ball more. because I don't know how much Andrew Luck's going to go deep a lot in those games just because of his shoulder.
Yeah. Well, it's true. And
Doxson and Crowder need to step up big time for Washington. Peterson looked like he aged of 50 years overnight. Chris Thompson might be the best back out there, but keep an eye out for the Oklahoma running back, Samaje Perine. They still have him lurking in the shadows, but
I think he's out for the year, though, Eric.
Keep Jordan. No, that's Darius Geis.
That's right.
And Rob Kelly just went on IR.
Ooh, Fat Rob.
So keep Jordan Reed healthy, and that offense might come back.
Yeah. Look, I don't want to crap on either one of these teams. The Dolphins are 2-0. I had Miami picked to give New England, to upend New England from the division title. Nothing has changed my opinion on that. I do think that Miami's going to be probably a one and done in the postseason. Nothing has changed my mind moving on that direction. I don't think New England has looked good. We'll get to New England later. I do think Miami's looked as good as I expected. Kenyon Drake, phenomenal running back. They're passing the ball around. Kenny Stills is showing up. Their defense is better than people gave them credit for, except on this show. I told you Miami's defense was better than people thought, not just because of the addition of Robert Quinn, but Wake and that secondary, which I touted last week. The Dolphins are for real defensively, and I just feel like they're going to be under the radar the entire time. Sam Darnold is the greatest quarterback that ever lived. Let's just be honest. I've never seen somebody throw a better incomplete pass in my life. I've never seen somebody drop back with such proficiency and get their feet set than ever. And, I mean, come on. He beat the Lions. Who's Tom Brady ever beaten, guys? Okay? Not the Lions. Oh, wait. Oh, that's right. Yeah, if you didn't catch that, that was called sarcasm. After week 1 against probably the number 1 team in the NFL as far as drafting order goes, the Detroit Lions, I was supposed to believe that somehow Sam Darnold had elevated past Johnny Unitas, Joe Namath, and Joe Montana, and Tom Brady, and Peyton Manning, and Aaron Rodgers, because he had a 75% completion percentage, 198 yards, and only 2 touchdowns. But I was supposed to be sold on the Jets. Well, you guys know last week I didn't pick New York. I'm not picking New York this week against Cleveland. I don't know the score. We'll get to that later. But I don't think the Jets are any different than what I thought they were going into this year. A 4-12 team, and they'll be looking for a quarterback in 2 years. And maybe not. Maybe they're going to get, Sanchized, and they're going to think that this is it. This is the guy. And then a butt fumble later, and his whole career will go down the tubes or down the toilet. Butt fumble, toilet, forget it. I digress. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say Sam Darnold is a bust. What I am going to say is, for rookie quarterback, Sam Darnold is just as far behind his progression as Josh Allen. And time will tell, and coaching, and off-season work ethic will all determine where these guys end up. But Sam Darnold benefited from playing the worst team in professional football in week 1. I don't know if the Lions will win more than 3 games this year. I just don't. So the Dolphins did what me and Eric, expected them to do. They laid the smackdown in New York. Game over. Dolphins are 2-0, Jets are 1-1, and their schedule is about to get more difficult after Cleveland. They have, where is it? They are on the road against the Jaguars. Good luck with that one. Then they are at home against Denver. Good luck with that one. And we'll go one more. The very next week, the New York Jets are home against the Colts. That's going to be a tough game. So we'll see where the Jets are after week 6. 1-5, maybe 2-4, but we'll see. Time will tell. Eric, your takeaway on that game?
The Jets faced a better defense, and the Dolphins won a game that they should have won. You know, Ryan Tannehill is still getting his feet underneath him after missing all of last year. So, God, I expect him to progress weekly. Okay. You know, they're getting it done in South Beach. Whether that's Frank Gore or Kenyon Drake, or I know Devontae Parker has been out for the first couple of weeks, and Kenny Stills was the main guy in week 1, but they really had nobody to throw the ball to in week 2 because Stills didn't do much. So, you know, they got to rely on that defense when they have games like that, and they were able to come away with a victory. So defense can win you games. You need your offense to help out your defense as well, like sustaining drives, keeping them off the field.
Yeah.
So we'll see where the Dolphins go from here.
Yeah, we'll take a look at them for sure. San Diego, or sorry, the Chargers, they laid off the throttle at halftime. But the Chargers, every week. It's for 2 years. I want to point something out here. You want to know how good the Chargers are, Eric?
They're pretty darn good.
They're so good on offense that they cause guys to quit at halftime. Look, man, if I was down 28-7 or whatever the friggin' score was at halftime, and I had to go back out there and cover Phillip Rivers for 30 more minutes, I might have retired. I don't have anything to say. Buffalo right now is just a hot mess. I knew they weren't as bad as 47-3. I knew they wouldn't win this game. I didn't think they would be bad enough to be down 28-7, or whatever the halftime score was. But I will give credit where credit's due. 28-3, I think, is what the score was. The Bills didn't quit. Even though, well, let me rephrase that. The rest of the Bills didn't quit. One guy quit on the Bills, but the rest of the team, it's almost like that rallied them. I don't know if there was it did seem to me like the first drive of the second half, the Chargers were like, whoa, what the hell got into Buffalo? Well, they didn't know what was going on in the locker room. I really think that guy leaving, quitting on the team, just ticked off the Bills' defense. Man, as a coach, what else can you do with that? You just sit there and you look at your guys and go, is that who we are? We're just going to quit at halftime and give up like so-and-so did? I know one thing. If I was on defense, I'd be pissed off right now that somebody thought so little of us defensively, they just walked out of the locker room before the game was over. Show me what you got in the second half. Are you quit? Are you quitters like him? Or are you going to be an NFL football team? And I'd walk out. That would have been my speech. I wouldn't have done any, here's what they're doing offensively, here's what they're doing defense. Nothing. That would have been it. I'd have left. I'd have let that simmer, and I'll tell you what, that's exactly what would have happened. So I give credit where credit's due. I think the Bills came out fired up and angry, and that was even more evident in the postgame. As far as Josh Allen goes, yeah, right now, I'm not going to lie, he doesn't look good. He doesn't look bad, but he doesn't look as good as I thought he was going to look. But time will tell.
And Cleveland passed on him.
Yeah. Well, I'm still pissed about that. But, time will tell. Again, I keep saying it every year. I'm not going to judge a kid's career within the first couple of weeks of a season. I'm going to wait 3 years. I'm going to critique each year and those first 3 years, then put it all together and make an assessment in the end. And I'm not going to change now. I've always done it that way. So we'll see. This isn't a good start, but he's not on a good team. And that pains me to say, because I thought the Bills were moving in that direction, especially when they turned around and made some moves this offseason like they did, or last year even when they got Benjamin and made moves towards getting better, but it just hasn't shown up.
I have a non-football question for you.
Okay.
Do you remember a baseball player by the name of John Kruk?
Yeah. Played for the Phillies.
Played for the Phillies. Played for the White Sox. Played for a couple other teams as well. Let me tell you a little story. John Kruk needed one hit during the season to get to bat 300 for his career. He got the hit. He abruptly retired. For me, that's worse than what Vontae did. Vontae Davis knew something was wrong, and apparently his heart wasn't into it. I'm not going to fault the guy for saying, you know what, I can't do it anymore. I just want to know why it took 2 weeks into the season, through training camp, through preseason games, and then a game and a half in the season. But I did read a story. Ex-Raven cornerback Dominique Foxworth wrote an article that he had talked with Vontae Davis, and he's like, you know what, I can go out with my head held up high because, and I'm paraphrasing here, he can do that because he knew it was his time. And when you know it's your time, the worst thing a player can do, is stay too long. We've heard this all the time. Okay, that they leave a year or two too late instead of leaving on their terms or a year early. And I honestly think that Brian Urlacher, when he was giving a really dumb contract from the Bears, when they said when they really didn't want him, but they offered him a contract anyways, and he's like, no, they signed somebody else to replace him. And Urlacher got a couple of calls. I think one of them was from the Falcons, but he ended up not signing. Okay, and he ended up walking away from the game. That was, he might have left a year too early type of thing. That was completely out of his control. Vontae Davis did it differently. I wouldn't have done it during halftime. That's just me. I would have waited till after the game or Monday or Tuesday. But when it's your time, it's your time.
Dude didn't die. Eric, I'm going to stop you right there. The dude didn't die. All he had to do, and this is all the Bills wanted him to do, this is all I would have wanted as a coach, and certainly all I would have wanted as a teammate. You go to the head coach and you say, I'm done. I'm going to stay suited up. I'm going to go out there in case I'm needed, but I'm not playing anymore. Put the backup in. I'll address it when the game is over. You leave your helmet and your uniform on and you finish the game. You finish what you started. Not asking you to finish the year. But
I can agree with that, what you're saying.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That is why it's the worst thing I've ever heard. And I agree with the Bills linebacker. Not Pop Warner. I've never seen it. Middle of the game, just walk away. No. There's a way to handle that. And to make matters even better for him had he done it that way, is he could have gone out and talked to the press and made his announcement more formal and get that out of the way. But he goes scurrying off in the shadows. It's not appropriate. Look, the Chargers looked really bad last week against the Chiefs. I don't know. Maybe that's the Chiefs. Maybe the Chiefs are just that good. If I'm a Charger fan, I'm a little concerned. Not because we're playing the Rams this week. That's problem enough. But you only put up 28 against Buffalo after putting 28 up in the first half. You did nothing in the second half against that defense. What are you going to do against a Ram defense? So I would be a little concerned if I was San Diego in the power outage that has occurred this year and at the times that the power outages have occurred. But by and large, for the season, I wouldn't be too worried about it because I do think they're still good enough to be a wild card team, and at 1-1, they're certainly at least relevant. That's my 2 cents on that game. Minnesota-Green Bay was a tie. The second week in a row. Who's going to tie this week, Eric? I'm going to go with, let's go with Oakland-Miami. They tie. I don't know what's going to happen this week, but 2 weeks in a row, I don't know if that's ever happened in modern football since the introduction of the overtime. But this game, it was funny too because when the Vikings were down, I looked at my brother was at his place watching the game, and I said, watch, that game's going to go in overtime, and watch the Vikings and Packers tie. And I kid you not, we both laughed and said, wouldn't that be hilarious? And then they ended up freaking tying. I didn't see a lot of the game. I do know that there was a bogus penalty at the end of the game that negated an interception that would have given Green Bay the win. This new emphasis on, basically asking defenders to be able to stop mid-flight, mid-air, turn their body. I'm not going to get into it. This could be a rant that I could go on for 50 minutes. And we're already 50 minutes in, so I'm not going to do it. My assessment of that game is Green Bay's not very good. Minnesota's not as impressive as they were last year. The Packers, they're not as bad as they were in the first half against Chicago. They're not as good as they were for most of this game against a good defense. Minnesota isn't as good as they were against San Francisco. And they're not as bad as they were defensively against Green Bay. Both these teams are somewhere in the middle, and we don't know where they're at yet. But I don't think anyone can really sit here and go, Packers and Vikings for the championship game. They're not that good of football teams. That much has been clear. But they're definitely playoff caliber football teams, and time will tell on that. Eric, is there anything you want to mention?
Yeah, I think both teams will be there in the end, fighting it out for the division. Listen, 2 weeks, actually, 2 weeks in a row, 2 flags on Clay Matthews in a row that have sustained drives. One against the Bears, one against the Vikings. The Vikings actually took advantage and scored and got the 2-point conversion. Cousins has been a big lift in the offense for the Vikings as a quarterback. Thielen and Diggs are still getting their share. Dalvin Cook needs to get on track a little bit more, but I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt only because he's coming back off of ACL injury. Clay Matthews is walking around there like, what else do I have to do to do a perfect tackling form? And he's been told your form has been perfect as far as tackling. They're actually using his tackle on Cousins, his sack on Cousins that was flagged 15 yards as a video to show what to do. And how does that work? You're going to get your own tackle of a player, of opposing player, used in film on what to do, yet you're going to get flagged. But that's not the best of it. I got something for you. I hope you're ready to blow your gasket.
You know me too well.
Andrew Sendejo's form and delivery was correct on a hit that drew a 15-yard penalty. Sendejo went up to the referee. Quote, what could I have done different? End quote. The official response, quote, you did everything right. You couldn't have done anything different. They just want us to throw the flag. I'm done. You can't. You might as well not even play a defense. If I'm a kid in high school and I read that quote, I say, I'm playing wide receiver. I'm playing running back. I'm playing tight end.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going through this crap. Let somebody else deal with it.
And you want to know why?
I see that in college. Coach, I ain't playing defense anymore.
Yeah. No,
I'm playing offense.
No, what's going to happen
You're
is
a kicker.
what's going to happen, Eric, is you're going to have more guys coming out of college doing exactly what the Bears linebacker did. He's 100% right. And here's exhibit A.
If anybody's trying to guess, it's Roquan Smith.
Right.
That he's talking about.
Right. We had a conversation on Roquan. And I'm sorry, but if I'm an agent, I don't care about money as a defense player. I want to be protected from fines. Because if I can't do it any better and you're just going to throw a flag for the sake of throwing a flag, and wait for it, Eric. Wait for it. You ready for next year's rule change? This is a bold prediction. Are you ready? 2 15-yard penalties against the same guy is an automatic ejection. Watch, that's going to be a new rule next year. I'm telling you. Now, you couple that with you couldn't have done anything different, but we still have to flag you personal foul, 15-yard penalty. You grab the face mask on accident, you're done. That's where this is going. So, yeah, I don't blame Rokon for being like, no, the money's good, everything else is good, the length, no. I want protection from that. The league's a joke. This is why I watch college football. You guys want to know why we do a college football show? This is why right here. Because for all of college football's recent rule changes and flaws, at least they still hit. And they hit hard. And it's beautiful to watch. And in the NFL, I'm yet to see a hit that doesn't get flagged, that ends a drive that makes me go, oh, did you see that hit? Nope, doesn't happen. Does not happen. If the crowd goes, oh, then they go, oh, because here comes the flag. Every 100%, every single time. That's where we're at. I'm not going to blow my gasket any more than I just did. That is everything that's wrong with football. And it's under one name. And until this name is changed, we're screwed.
2021.
One man has ruined this sport beyond repair.
2021.
Roger Goodell.
3 more years.
If the league lasts that long. He is the single worst commissioner. Whatever title you want to give it in business, in the history of mankind. It's mind-boggling how bad the sport's been destroyed. The next commissioner is going to have to come in and go, we're moving the extra points back up. We're going back to kickoffs and kick returns. We're retweaking the catch rule again. And defense, yeah, we're going to start making calls that are more friendly in your favor. That, unless those things happen with the new commissioner, the sport is going to lose and lose badly next year. Those of you that don't know, come January, tune in to NBC. There's a new football league. And I'm very interested to see how different it is from the NFL. Here would be my marketing pitch. Are you ready? Football, the way it's supposed to be played. Blah, 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 blah. Whatever the league name is. That's it. That's your motto. And you have that as long as you see the name Roger Goodell on an NFL football. Football, the way it's supposed to be. What, are you going to watch that sport? You know, there is one good thing, though, Eric. I don't know if you heard about this. Did you know that they're selling NFL player action figures?
No.
Yeah. They're going to start that next week. The only thing is, there's a reading on the label. It says tampons not included.
That's so horrible.
All right, enough about that crap. I want to go on to the next game.
Actually, I have an update for everybody.
All right.
Baker Mayfield's in the game.
Ooh.
Baker Mayfield hit on his first 2 passes.
It's the greatest quarterback that ever lived. Do you believe this kid? MVP.
It's actually the greatest quarterback who ever lived versus the greatest quarterback who ever lived part 2.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
Yeah, Tyrod Taylor got hurt.
Ooh, I don't want to see that. I was hoping they just pulled him for inefficiency. I don't want to see that. Well,
he was pretty inefficient, but he got injured.
Yeah, well, there's that too. Cleveland, speaking of Cleveland, at New Orleans. The Saints. I told you guys the Browns wouldn't win more than 3 games this year. I actually think they may win 4 or 5 this year, but I don't think they're anything's an improvement from last year, right? It's not 0, so it's a plus.
What if it's 0-15-1?
Dude, I would piss myself. I would laugh so hard that I would permanently piddle on a daily basis just thinking about it. Look, New Orleans struggled mightily. That's a credit to the Browns defense, to be sure. Greg Williams going into his old place against his old coach. There's always an edge there. And you know that Peyton wanted this game badly. And the fact that it was that close against that team does not sit well with him. But I also think it's a symptom of what we have in New Orleans. We have a problem. And the problem is you have a 97-year-old quarterback. You have a wide receiver that nobody's figured out they need a double team yet. and you have a defense that doesn't know how to cover the deep ball. So New Orleans is going to be an interesting question mark moving forward the rest of the regular season. As far as Cleveland goes, give credit where credit's due. They didn't quit either. If they had a kicker, they would have won the game. But unfortunately, they went to ASU and drafted their kicker. And sorry, Browns, you'll never like the Sun Devils again, and that's fair. But consider it a payback. See, the Sun Devils decided that they wanted to return the favor from the Rose Bowl of 96. So have Zane Gonzalez lose some football games and FU for our quarterback from Mountain View who went to Ohio State and beat us in the Rose Bowl. Now we're even. It's just fair trade. Zane, it's all good. So just throw that out there.
Listen, the Browns sure won a game. The reports came out that Gonzalez was injured. I don't know if I believe it, but Hugh Jackson said he didn't know, but he heard it. He then heard it from his defensive coordinator. So they cut Gonzalez. They signed an undrafted free agent kicker from Florida Atlantic named Greg Joseph. He actually just kicked a field goal for the Browns.
Was it good?
It was good.
Okay.
It was good.
Because Zane kicked them a lot. He just didn't make any of them.
Right, exactly. But what's funny to me is that they turned to an undrafted free agent kicker when Dan Bailey was out there. Now, I understand Dan Bailey not wanting to go to Cleveland. I completely 100% understand. But how, you need a kicker. You need somebody who's made a field goal before in the NFL.
Well,
you don't need to go the undrafted free agent route again.
Well, they did, and it seemed to work out so far. But look, the Browns.
One for one.
The Browns are.
Retire.
You retire. Pull a crock. Look, the Browns are a dumpster fire, but look at it this way.
And then he just kicked the ensuing kickoff out of bounds.
It's the Brown way. Eric, the good news is that Hugh Jackson still has only one more career NFL win with the Browns than I do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're 3 years into this thing? Terrible.
Yep.
All right. Detroit at San Francisco, not a lot to mention here. The 49ers had the game looking like a blowout, and then they let the Lions back in. They're kind of like the Notre Dame Fighting Irish of pro football. They can't seem to put teams away, but they find a way in the end to win. So I give credit to San Francisco. Their team looked really good, but a lot like the Chargers. They get off to this hot start, and then they fiddle fart away. And if, they pay what's his name? Matthew Stafford to throw the football, right?
Right.
Maybe they should pay Matthew Stafford to complete a football. Just going to throw that out there. I mean, I could throw it. He threw it on the final drive. Nowhere near any of his receivers. Into coverage. Diving spectacular attempts behind the receiver. Maybe they should pay him to actually complete a pass when the game's on the line. Just saying. Detroit blew this game. They had every opportunity to come back and win it, and they didn't. The Niners should be concerned. This isn't exactly world beaters that they beat by 3. Good teams are supposed to blow out bad teams. I didn't see that this week. I think the Niners are a 6-10, 7-9 club, and they got a long way to go, especially on the defense side of the ball. And good luck this week, because Mahomie and company come home, and you got to go to their place and play an Arrowhead. That ain't an easy place to play as it is. When Alex Smith was quarterback, now you got this fool throwing the ball for touchdown. It's like a broken friggin' record. We'll see. It'll be a tough game for San Francisco. Your take.
There's one bright spot on Detroit, and that's your receiver Kenny Galladay. The guy, he keeps up what he's doing, and he's going to be really good for a long time. He just puts up yards after the catch, puts up a lot of good catch numbers, and he's their lone bright spot. You know, when you sign LeGarrette Blount, you already have a Theo Riddick on your team, and then you draft a Kerryon Johnson. They have gone now 70 games without a 100-yard rusher, and it's going to continue because they can't settle on one guy because Kerryon's out there for downs 1 and 2, then Theo Riddick comes in for down 3. But if it's at the goal line, LeGarrette Blount comes in, pick a guy and stick with it. And the guy that they should pick right now is Theo Riddick. The guy that they're going to pick later on, meaning next season, is Kerryon Johnson.
Yeah.
If Kerryon Johnson actually gets a full workload, he could be really good. You know, I watched him last year at Auburn, and he's got some moves, he's got skill, but they're paying the quarterback too much to throw the ball.
Yeah. I'm not going to...
San Francisco, on the other hand, you know, what's interesting to me is, you know, the talk isn't Garoppolo anymore with them. The talk is Matt Breida leads the league in rushing after 2 weeks. I get it, it's 2 weeks, okay? But he's having fun out there. You know, he went overlooked. He was a starter, then they signed Jerick McKinnon. And then McKinnon tore his ACL. They're like, oh, we're going to go sign Alfred Morris, and he's going to start. Matt Breida's like, okay. Here, I'm just going to go run wild. So put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Yeah, right.
And he's done well with the 49ers, and he'll get his share again against the Chiefs, because you can easily run on the Chiefs. You just don't get down first. Take the ball first at Arrowhead, get a score, and then run your own offense, because that's how you're going to be able to beat Kansas City. You're going to have to outscore them.
Which isn't easy.
It isn't easy, no.
So, New England against Jacksonville.
I saw this coming from when the schedule was released.
Well, here's what I took away from the game. For the first time in a long time, I dare say 2001, 2002, I'm not scared. I don't see the Patriots, and I'm no longer like, well, they won, skip it and go to the next game. There is a real difference in feeling. And it was personified this week when they went out and traded for Josh Gordon. Because that's a reach, man. That's a big reach. And you look at this football team, they don't scare you on the ground. You can easily put pressure on the quarterback. Their tight end is beat up and old. Their wide receivers are not fleet of foot. And that defense is a joke. It's pathetic. So I'm looking at New England going, you may be 1-1, but you beat a bad Houston Texan football team by 7 at home. And then you went in and got your teeth kicked in by Jacksonville. And typical New England, when the going gets tough, they start yelling at each other. Tom Brady yelling at the O-line, the O coordinator yelling at the offense, Tom Brady yelling at his receivers, frustration setting in. They're like the spoiled little millennial that's gotten everything they've wanted, and now the parent is finally saying no, and they can't handle it. So, my clock's going off. I'm going to try to talk over this. I just think personally for me, the Patriots aren't scared. They're not scary anymore. They're not even really, in my opinion, the best team in the AFC East anymore. And there's some real problems in New England. And Jacksonville looks every bit as good as we thought they would be. And Blake Bortles is exhibit A on why you don't judge a man's career by the first 2 years of his career. Let the career play out. Some guys are late bloomers. Some guys are early bloomers. Not everybody's an early bloomer, and not everybody is a bust as soon as they don't bloom. It takes time. Look at Warren Moon. Had to do it in another league before he came in. Doug Flutie, an old man, came in the league and tore it up. It takes time. And Bortles is an example of that. Your take.
week 2, and this is how New England usually starts out every year.
No, Eric, I'm cutting you off. I'm cutting you off. This is different. This is different.
No. This year they don't have an offensive line.
Yeah.
But Brady has always been quick throwing out the ball. We talked about this off, not on show, but we talked about this before. So he needs to get rid of the ball quick. So your best bet is screen passes and quick slants to your wide receiver. Because you're not going to have time to hold the ball for 4 or 5 seconds to throw it downfield. Gronk's not getting down there as quickly. Who knows when and if Josh Gordon's going to play. Apparently he's been practicing, and they're going to see what's going on. So I don't know. It remains to be seen with Gordon. New England can be scored upon. New England can be run upon. And what Jacksonville did, obviously they had that game circled as soon as it came out. Okay? I have no doubt about it. I don't expect Jacksonville to give up after, or have a, not give up, but have a letdown after this game. Okay? I know they were really pumped for it. Bortles hit all of his wide receivers. Okay? Keelan Cole has a miraculous catch on the sideline right in front of Belichick. YouTube it or Google it, whatnot. Keelan Cole catch. That's probably all you need to put in there. D.D. Westbrook had a heck of a catch and run. Dante Moncrief was getting involved. And this is a team that lost Marquise Lee for the year in the preseason. What they need is a healthy Leonard Fournette. And they're expected to get him back this week against at home for the Titans. So, New England, I'm not ready to write them off just yet. I think the end of their swan song is coming, and it could be as early as this year. I know we talked about it last year. Reports are starting to surface, and stories are starting to come out about Brady wanting to get away from Belichick. But, of course, that's all deny when you ask them. So I think that the end is very near. And I know he's 41 years old. He's still a good quarterback. They just didn't do anything on the offensive line for him. We'll see what happens in the next game, in the next 2 games.
Dude, Detroit. I mean, they got the weakest schedule I've ever seen for a team that is supposedly every year supposed to win. They don't have another challenging game. They don't have a challenging game next week. They got the Dolphins the following week, but it's in New England. So
okay, but if the Dolphins are going to throw them, the Dolphins got to go up there and beat them.
Agreed, and I think they will. I do think they will, or at least make it close. But let's not pretend like next week is all of a sudden the reincarnation of the New England Patriots. If they don't win that game by 30 points, we got a problem.
I expect New England to beat the crap out of Matt Patricia and the Lions.
They better.
I expect it.
I do too.
No ifs, ands, or buts. I expect it.
I do too. I'm going to jump to the Giant Cowboy game because it was a giant pile of crap. It wasn't a very good football game. It wasn't really worth the ticket of admission. It's certainly, of all the games played week 2, that is probably like the 16th game I would have put on Sunday night. But, anytime Dallas is on, playing football, they're either going to be Monday night or Sunday night or the game of the week. Can't understand why. This is an unbearable team to watch. But, hey, Tavon Austin had a big day. The Giants didn't do anything on the ground. They threw the ball a lot.
He had one play.
Yeah. Well, it's more than he had in L.A. for his entire career. So I'll give credit where credit's due. So, hey, I think he actually now has as many touchdowns in Dallas as he did in his 5-year Ram career. But putting that all aside, Dallas's defense, they look great. They played the Giants. I think the Giants proved they're not there yet offensive line-wise. It's bad. It's real bad. And the fact that I had to watch that game, look, all I'm going to say about it is Eli Manning can't throw the ball without protection. He's old. He should have retired at the end of last year. I don't think he's got anything left in the tank. And Saquon Barkley's got to do more than catch the football in the backfield. He's got to find running lanes somewhere, and I don't know if he's going to in New York. So,
he took the words right out of my mouth about Eli.
Yeah.
This Giants team can't go anywhere with him as the quarterback. sorry, the writing's on the wall.
Yeah.
And this has to be his last year. I would actually make that announcement saying, I'm retiring at the end of the year. This way he can get the proper send-off. Look, he's been good. He's been good for the NFL for a long time.
Yeah.
Okay, 2 Super Bowl rings. Go out on a little bit of a high note, even though the Giants might not be where they want to be as far as record-wise and where in the division. Barkley's special. You don't want to waste any of this kid's career because you have a 37-year-old quarterback who's like, I can't get it to Odell or Sterling or Evans, so I got to dump it off to you, but watch your knees.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
The defense is mediocre. That's really all I have on the Giants. The Cowboys, they need a wide receiver.
Well, Des Bryant's available.
Apparently so.
So.
I don't know how you're going to keep winning with Terrence Williams and Cole Beasley.
You're not.
Ezekiel Elliott's on a planet of his own when he runs the ball. I mean, that guy runs harder than most running backs I've seen before, and I've seen some really good ones. And I'm not putting him in that echelon, but he runs the ball hard, and he's out there to make people hurt.
Yeah. Well,
he's a man on a mission, and I hope they're able to get weapons around on that offense, to open up some more running lanes for him. Because I would stack 8 in the box if I'm a defense. Let's say the Bears were playing the Cowboys, I would put 8 in the box, and I'd let my quarterbacks go one-on-one with Williams and Beasley and whoever else they're throwing out there.
Dude, I'd let my nickel and dime corners go one-on-one against those guys. They're not that good. Before we get to our 2 games, I want to wrap up with the rest of these games. The Raiders and Broncos, the Raiders to me are an enigma. I don't think they're as bad as they obviously showed. They weren't as bad as they were week 1 against the Rams. I think that was more of a product of the Rams than the Raiders. But I also don't think they are an 0-2 football team either. And I think that they literally, this game, I hate to say this because I like him, but Gruden cost him this game. Why you go for it instead of kicking it and punting the ball away? You were up 11. You were up 11. You didn't need to do that, or 10, whatever it was. Dumb. 9 points. They were up 9. That was a dumb decision. It was dumb. You don't need to do it. Punt the ball. Play defense. You're playing defense. Gives them a short field. They capitalize. McManus kicks the field goal, wins the game. Later on. Case Keenum is, I know he did it last year in Minnesota. This isn't Minnesota. The Broncos will not make the playoffs this year. I don't care that they're 2-0. They will not make the playoffs this year. They're not that good. And they have problems and they have holes in a lot of different positions. So, but I do think Denver is good enough to be in the conversation right up until the final weekend. Maybe they sneak in. I mean, they're certainly able to sneak in, but they're going to need help or it's going to come down to the final weekend for them, I believe. I don't think this is a team that's going to have things wrapped up anytime soon. So if they do get in, they're going to squeak in, and they're going to be one and done. The Raiders, they're not going to get there either, but I don't think they're as bad as their 0-2 record indicates. But they've got a lot of work to do, and they've got to find a way to get the ball to Amari Cooper. And they've got to find a pass rush. Now, they had a guy, but they decided to trade that guy away.
You're going to hear that 16 times a week.
Well, they do. It blows my mind that they made that move. Kudos to the Bears. But what the frig were the Raiders thinking? So I don't know. I mean, look, it's going to be a long year for the Raiders. But I don't think it's going to be a 4-12 long year. I think it's going to be a 6-10, 7-9 long year. You're going to feel like maybe you can get, and then they don't. Kind of like their pass rush. Oh, we're going to get to he completed the pass. Never mind. Oh, no, they completed it. That's going to be the Raiders' season all year. So, Eric, your take from that game.
Yeah, just Gruden coming up with every excuse at the end of every game in his press conference and talking about needing a pass rush. Well, dude, stop it. Seriously, stop. Stop saying that crap and talk about what really is, because you're making a fool out of yourself. Case Keenum had a brutal 3 quarters. Came alive in the 4th. Hey, you know what? When it's a close game and your quarterback is brutal for 3 quarters and you come back in the 4th quarter, either you found something or the defense was just off. And the Raiders' defense actually played really good for a game and a half.
Yeah.
It's just the second half against the Rams where they completely fell apart.
Yeah.
So, I'm not. I won't discount the Rams or the Raiders at all as far as their defense. They can stay in the game. They just need to find consistency on offense and really need to decide if Marshawn is their guy to keep running the ball because when you're getting a couple of yards of carry, he's useless.
Yeah. All right.
He'll break one every now and then, but you got to get the ball to your playmakers, and that's Amari Cooper.
I'm not dabbing, honest. I just sneezed. Sorry, God bless me. All right. Let's get to the sweet stuff, the stuff that we want to talk about. First, we'll talk about the Rams and the Cardinals. We said that this game was going to be an absolute blowout, and it was. The Rams lose their kicker before the game. Frickin' Hecker kicks a field goal and an extra point. And here's something funny. The Rams go for 2 after the first score. I believe they then fall short, and they're deciding on whether or not to go for it on 4th down. And I look over at my brother. I'm like, let Hecker kick it. They're close enough. And what's the worst that's going to happen? It's not like you're going to lose to the Cardinals. And all of a sudden, here comes Hecker. And I'm like, oh, yes. And then he kicks the field goal. And then a little while later in the game, I'm like, go, let him kick an extra point. Let him see what he can do. And he kicks the extra point. They trot him out there, and he kicks the extra point. Literally called both times he came out. Todd Gurley has not had the rushing game that we would have liked to seen. And again, there's my point. They dominated the Cardinals, and again, Aaron Donald doesn't show up in a big way against the pass. He showed up big against the run. So did Ndamukong Suh. But we haven't seen that big pass rush. These corners haven't made the splash play minus Peters in week 1 on the end of the game. They're doing this without playing at their best. Now they've had 2 weeks, and it's hard to say the Rams didn't play their best last week when you don't allow the opponent to cross midfield until 22 seconds to go in the game. But it's true. And you look at this football team and you're like, Gurley hasn't gotten off yet. Cooks hasn't gotten deep and found the end zone yet. Goff still hasn't shown the touch on the deep ball like he had last year. And the defense hasn't played the way they have. They're 2-0. They've outscored their opponents in the last 2 weeks by the combined score of 67-13. And they haven't even played their best football. It's scary. Tyler Higbee showed up. And the Rams are going to focus more on the tight end to take the pressure off of the wide receivers, which I think is a good move. It's awesome, man. It's so awesome to see because, look, the Rams, let me explain. Okay, so I'm watching the NFL Nitwit show, right? I'm watching actually Good Morning Football, which I like. I think Kay is a brilliant announcer, and I think those other 3 gentlemen that are with her, they have a really good chemistry. And although I don't agree with everything that they say, you can at least see that they put the work in to try and explain why they feel the way they do. From Schrager to Burleson to Brandt, I like all of them. And Kay was like, we're going to talk about who the best team is in the NFC. Let's take the Rams out of the equation. Excluding the Rams, who else could we consider to be an elite team in the NFC? Dude, that made me feel so good. I'm so used to hearing who's the best in the AFC. Let's take the Patriots out of the equation and look at the rest of these teams. For them to do that with the Rams shows you just how good this team is. There is no question in my mind that this football team is a 14-2, 13-3 at worst football team. And I'm not even concerned about the Chargers like I thought I would be at this point in the year. I'm looking at the Rams' schedule, Eric, and I honestly, other than Minnesota, I don't have a bad feeling until Chicago. And I mean it. Like, I'm looking at that going, Minnesota, Chicago are probably going to be 2 losses or 2 games. I'm going to be nervous. But if they win one of those 2 games, they're 15-1. And this football team has everything. And let's not ignore JoJo Natson, this kid off the street that comes in and pops a 60-yard punt return and was flying all over the field. The Rams special teams continues to be out of this world, with or without Zerline. Hecker's the best kicker, best punter in football since Ray Guy. And they have an offense and defense that no one can touch right now. And I know it's the Cardinals, and I know the Cardinals look bad, but Eric, you know from the 85 Bears, you blow out the teams you're supposed to blow out, and you make it look like it's not even close. And then the good teams, you dominate, and that's what makes you great. And the Rams, they beat the Raiders, who a lot of people thought were going to be a better team this year, blew them out. And they blew out the Cardinals, a team no one expected to show up, and they didn't. There's a lot of good things going on in LA. Cooks is going to flash. Gurley's going to flash. These guys are going to bring it together. And this week at home against the Chargers coming up, and we're going to talk about that game in a minute. I mean, that's it. I mean, that's going to be the final barometer on these next 2 weeks are going to be the real measuring stick to see where the Rams are at. Your take.
First, I'm going to start with the bad, and that is the Cardinals. They play the Lions this year. They could all end up tying, and the Cardinals, Lions, and Browns could all be 15-1. Listen, I'm not joking. That's how bad these 3 teams are.
Oh, Jesus.
Buffalo could go 0-16, and they could get the number 1 pick because the other 3 teams tied.
It is bad.
Enough about Arizona. They need to get David Johnson involved and keep feeding him and let him take over.
Yeah.
And I know Arizona runs the least amount of plays as a team offensively in the NFL. Give it to your running back. That's what you signed him to an extension for.
Yeah.
And for crying out loud, find a decent game where the Cardinals actually have a chance and put in Rosen and see what he can do.
Yeah.
Because Bradford is done. And you might as well, when you send Bradford packing, you might as well send Glennon packing.
Yeah.
All right? Just find a good game, put Rosen in there. You're gonna get a lot of fan credibility if you do. Okay, enough about that. You knew the Rams were going to do anything that they wanted to the Cardinals. Okay? I don't put too much stock into this game, except that I love that the fact that their defense showed up. They didn't let them cross midfield until 22 seconds left of the game, and they preserved the shutout. Love it. You don't see shutouts all that often anymore. It's great when they happen. The thing with this game is, and I know Gurley said he left early because of cramps, and whether or not that's true, the Rams and he know. But it's good. Get your backups some experience, especially in a game like that. I love the fact that Malcolm Brown came in. And actually was running pretty well from what I could tell regarding the game cast, because I didn't get this game out here.
Yeah.
Cooks had a great day. Yeah, they need to find the end zone. I get it. They're going to get into the end zone.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's given. Gurley's been there already a couple of times. So just give it time. Cup needs to get a little bit more. But there's a lot of mouths to feed. And if anybody can keep everybody happy, it's Sean McVay.
Yeah.
It's a good problem to have. You don't have, I don't want to say you don't have a diva on your team. Brandon Cooks may be the closest one to a diva, but he's not a Terrell Owens. He's not a Brandon Marshall. He's not
Chad Johnson.
Not one of those guys. He's not one of those guys who is going to put up a huge stink for not getting the ball.
Right.
Okay, and I know what happened in New Orleans. He wasn't getting the ball, called out his team, and he ended up trading to New England. Okay, but I think he realized the situation he's in, and he's going to be like, "Hey, whatever you get me, I'm cool with."
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see what the Rams do, especially the next 2 weeks, what they do to the against the Chargers and what they do against the Vikings. But I'm actually excited regarding the Viking game, Viking game, because it's on Thursday night, and I didn't realize that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to be able to watch it, which is great.
Yeah.
Because then I can really, throw in my input. But we'll see. They might end up getting stronger as the season goes on, which I expect. And I wouldn't worry too much about Donald, whether he's in the pass game or the run game. If he's in there, nobody's running up the middle anyway. So
Exactly.
I don't care if you have fourth and the length of an ant, and he's in there. You're not getting past him. So, just get your guys healthy. If you need to keep Zerline out a couple extra weeks to make sure, that's what you got to do.
Do it. Okay, the last one. And guys, we're not going to cover anything but the Rams and Bears for week 3 as far as the games that we're going to cover. The Rams against the Chargers and the Bears against the, help me out, Eric, Cardinals. We're going to cover those two.
Do the Monday night game?
Yeah, we're going to cover the Bears Monday night game right now, but we're not going to cover any other game but the Bears and Rams games for week 4 or week 3, because we'll talk about them when the game's over and go into detail like we did here, because we're already at an hour 30 and I got to run an errand tonight. But I want to talk about the Bears and Seahawks. And I told you, Eric, I called you when it was 10-0. And I said that I haven't seen a team like this since the 2000 Ravens. This defense is going to win you a lot of football games. And I do think if the Bears can continue this trend defensively, I'm a believer that if you run the ball, and they can, and you play great defense, and they do, you're a playoff team. You're a playoff team. The quarterback is what separates you from a Super Bowl team to a playoff team, but defense and running the ball makes you a playoff team. And the Bears have that element. So Trubisky's second year may very well be a postseason year if the Bears can keep this up. Now, that's a big if. They've got a schedule ahead of them. They've got to figure these things out. They played Minnesota twice. They got to figure out that second half against Green Bay. But against Seattle, this was a game I picked the Bears to win and felt like Chicago needed an impressive showing, and they had it. A garbage touchdown at the end of the game. I'm not even going to give credit to Seattle on that one. It was garbage. It was unnecessary. Russell Wilson had nowhere to go, and the Bears' defense was all over the place. And Khalil Mack is literally John Gruden at night has nightmares and wakes up going, do we have him yet? Oh, no, we traded him. That's right. God damn it. He's done. He is in the head of the Raiders. But the important thing is he's in the head of every single quarterback that's going up against Chicago this year. And that ball's going to have to come out a little bit quicker. And Prince Amukamara showed that he studies game film. He read that curl route like a champ. And not only did he read it, but he caught it and he took it to the house. That's what the Bears used to do back in 2004 when they were winning all those games. Right? 2004 and 2005. So,
yeah, 05, 06.
05, 06, sorry. For me, the Bears are more than that. That team didn't have pressure on the quarterback like this team does. This is like a blend of the 05, 06 Bears and the 83 through 89 Bears or 88 Bears. Hell, you could even go 90 if you wanted to. This team's real. It's real. It's here. Now we've got to get it all together. There's some bad news in Chicago. They've got to get that quarterback situation right. That offense has to be more consistent. But run the ball. Trust in your quarterback. It's okay to punt. Play defense. You'll be fine. Your take from the game.
Yeah, Trubisky's going to stop with the happy feet. Okay? And what they really need to do is get the ground game going. You went and signed all these offensive guys, but your offense is still the ground game. Jordan Howard is, I think, to a lot of people, an unknown stud. Okay? He was second in rushing 2 years ago to Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah.
Okay, not many people know that. Jordan Howard is the only Bear running back to start his career with 2,000-yard seasons. He's special. Okay, he's not getting enough credit. Now you're running all these gadget plays, and Matt Nagy, the head coach. It comes from the Andy Reid coaching tree, and clock management isn't in their vocabulary. But, I actually had somebody tell me after the Green Bay game that they would have rather had Cutler in the fourth quarter than Trubisky in the fourth quarter, and I couldn't. I laughed.
That's dumb.
I'm like, no. I'm like, Jay Cutler was Green Bay's best quarterback because that defense was actually waiting for him to throw it to him.
Yeah.
So the offense needs to work, and I think in time it'll come. What I'm sick of hearing is Trubisky being compared to Patrick Mahomes and or Deshaun Watson. Now we all know what I've said about Deshaun Watson, okay? But he's not a Bear. I have to watch him from afar. Trubisky is the quarterback, and compare him to Cutler. I don't care. He's better than Cutler already.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the pouty face. Oh, I threw an interception. I'm going to go sit on the bench a mile away from all my teammates and have a pouty face and have some more pouty face. No, that's not Trubisky. Trubisky wants to learn. He wants to get better, and he can come back. Okay? It's going to take time. Do I think 2018 is going to be special for the Bears? Only in the sense that they're not drafting in the top 10. I really believe that they may be a 500 or less team.
Well, we'll see.
They'll have to prove me wrong, but I think 2019 is the year when they can take a major step.
Well,
especially if Trubisky continues to improve in 2018.
Yeah.
Now, the defense is there for the Bears to win now. Okay? Khalil Mack, I mean, it's seriously like watching a combination of Lawrence Taylor, Julius Peppers, Richard Dent, and any other Reggie White and Bruce Smith all in one.
Yeah.
And I'm not putting him in the Hall of Fame yet because I pretty much named a bunch of Hall of Famers, with the exception of Peppers, who probably will be in when his time comes. But he is a one-man wrecking crew. Yet, what he does, it opens up holes for Roquan Smith. It opens up holes for Danny Trevathan. It opens up holes for Leonard Floyd. And with the way he pressures the quarterback and gets to him so quickly, that's why Amukamura and Kyle Fuller are able to break on the ball as soon as they can.
Right. Look, there's not.
And I love the defense.
Yeah. Well, and you're gonna love him.
But I will make one point against defense. I'm sorry I've interrupted you twice. But I will make one point against defense. They get a little lackadaisical late in the game.
Yeah.
And I understand they were up 24-10 against Seattle, and they scored on the touchdown a little differently. But and I don't put too much stock into it. Okay. Only if they were to get the ball back would I have been like, okay, well that defense really needs to step up now. Can they step up at crunch time if the offense has a turnover?
Well, we won't find out this week, and that brings me to the game. We got to get these two games in, and then I got to get going. First, the Bears and the Cardinal game. That's a local game here in Arizona. I don't foresee the Cardinals doing anything. This isn't going to be the week to feed David Johnson. Well, actually, I take that back. This is the week to feed David Johnson because Crystal Chandelier back there, he's going to break on the first hit that he gets from Khalil Mack. So,
holy cow, Chris Chandler's out of retirement?
well, no, he's been reincarnated in the form of Sam Bradford, the only quarterback in NFL history where you look at his knee and it blows up. So the Bears have nothing to worry about this week. The Cardinals have real problems, and the Bears are one of them. And that defense is going to be all over the field. This is a great game to experiment with your quarterback. If he throws a few picks, he throws a few picks. It's not going to hurt you. The Cardinals aren't good enough to beat you on defense. So play your game. Give the ball to Howard, get a 10-point lead, and then throw it around. See what the kid can do. Get your best plays in there. That's my strategy this week because the Bears are not going to allow the Cardinals to run the ball. The Cardinals have already proven they can't throw the ball. And defensively, they got better against the run this week, but that's only because the Rams said, okay, put 8 in the box. We'll just throw it. Like, if the Rams wanted to run the ball like they wanted to against the Raiders in the second half last week, I believe they would have. But they didn't need to. And then, when the game was over, they were running the ball and getting first downs and kicking field goals and still moving the ball. So, the Cardinals are done, as far as I'm concerned, for the Bears. The Bears got this game wrapped up. Utilize this time to build on what you don't know, so you have a better idea of what you do know moving forward. Your take?
Yeah, I like the fact that I'd like to see Trubisky spread the ball around, get multiple passes out to Anthony Miller and Allen Robinson. And Robinson did a great job last week against the Seahawks as far as making catches and getting open. And I want to see him continue to do that. I don't care if he's going up against Patrick Peterson or not.
Yeah.
I do agree with the Trubisky with the experimentation. Get Howard involved, get your yards in and your points in the first half, and have fun in the second half. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Bears built a big enough lead where they turn it over to Chase Daniel. And I know reps are important in the NFL. I understand that. Sometimes you just want to protect your guys from unnecessary hits.
So
if I'm Matt Nagy, I tell my defensive coordinator Vic Fangio, I said, hey, listen, they don't cross that 50-yard line. We're not the Rams. I'm kidding. But just go get the ball.
Yeah.
Go get the ball and give it to our offense, and let's have some fun while we're out here.
I'm going to give you a score here, Eric. Bears 30, Cardinals 3.
Damn, I was thinking like 27-3.
Were you really?
Yeah. Actually, I really was thinking of somewhere around the 30, but I'm like, I can't do it.
30-3, I think is going to be the final score in that one. You got 27-3? 27-3. There you go. Look, it's for the Bears to have. Now, as far as the Rams game against the Chargers, there's a couple things that I want to talk about here, and then I'll kind of let you do your say, and be sure to pick a score at the end of this one. We're not going to hold you to it. Just give us an idea on how you think the game's going to go. The Chargers, they have weapons, and they'll find more holes in the Rams defense than the Cardinals did. They'll find more holes in the Rams defense, I think, than the Raiders did. I don't think they're going to have as much success running the ball as the Raiders did, but Phillip Rivers can sling it with the best of them. And this is really going to test Abikiwam and Littleton on the outside as far as their ability to cover the running back. Their corners are going to be fine, but those receivers are going to get theirs. You know they will. A couple penalties probably will go against the Rams. I can see the only thing that concerns me with San Diego is if they find success running the ball and they decide to stick to it. I think that can hurt the Rams because the inside linebackers I'm still up in the air on those guys. You got the rookie and you got Barron, and I'm not sure that they're the answer. I like their safeties, I like their outside backers, and I like their D-line. But again, you got to run up the middle. That means you got to run on Sue and Donald. But I remind people ran up the middle on the Rams last year. Granted, they double-teamed Donald and rooted him out of there and ran up the middle, and now you've got Sue that you have to deal with. So it's definitely going to be more challenging, but the Chargers have good athletes. Defensively, is Bosa playing this week?
No.
Then the Rams have nothing to worry about. They're going to slide their coverage over to the linebacker that gets a lot of pressure. They're going to play up front solidly. They'll run the ball, screen passes. I can see that being a big part of the game plan. Play action pass is still going to be there to go deep. I could see this game being a 28-17 Ram final. In fact, that's the score I'm going with. And I actually feel almost 100% certain that that's going to be the final score. I think it's going to be, nip and tuck maybe in the beginning of the game, like a 21-10, 21-17, 14-10, maybe even a 17-14 Charger lead at halftime. But I think the Rams turn around and take over in the second half like they usually do. I don't think the Chargers have the ability to keep up with the Rams for 4 quarters. As good as Phillip Rivers is, as good as their skill positions are, as good as their offensive line is, and trust me, I drafted most of them, sitting there in front of the TV picking where the Rams were picking, and instead they friggin' went to the Chargers. I know how good that offensive line is. but it's young and it still has time to groom. Defensively, the Chargers don't impress me. And they give up 13 to a very bad Bills team. And Josh Allen found the deep ball. And if he could find the deep ball and he's good, I know Goff is going to find the deep ball. But the Rams have Gurley. They have Cooks. And if they get the tight end involved, the Chargers are going to be sending those linebackers. The Rams are going to hit the tight end. It's all over but the crying. So I got 28-17 Rams. Your take.
I'm interested in seeing Phillip Rivers versus the defense. I know Peters and Talib are going to be lined up on Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, but you also have to take into account Tyrell Williams and also not really old Matt Gates until they get to the red zone, if they get to the red zone. And I think more so inside the 10-yard line as well, where he could be most effective. But, Gordon's going to really need to get the ground game going in order for the Chargers to even have any type of control of the clock in this game and let the offense take care of scoring and not letting the Rams offense on the field. On the flip side, to me, if the Chargers have a decent defense, it's not great and it's not horrible. It's right there in the middle of the pack, but when they're on defense, I just don't know if they have enough playmakers on defense to cover all the playmakers on offense for the Rams. And that's where you start getting worn down, and that's where Gurley starts getting his yards.
Yeah.
And if that happens, you're going to see a lot of ball control from the Rams in the second half of the game. And I'm thinking more of a 31-20 game.
Wow. Still an impressive win. 11 points. We both had an 11-point game, just different outcome. We really are similar. Too similar. All right. Guys, look, I'm sorry that we didn't cover some other games this week. I mean, obviously Cincinnati, Carolina would have been a good one to cover, but we will cover all of them in our review next week. And we'll be sure that we do it a little quicker so we have time to maybe pick 3 games or so to cover like we do the Rams and Bears. But for the sake of time, I got errands to run. That's what we did. I really enjoy doing these shows, and I'm glad people are starting to comment on the college football show. Keep watching that. Those of you that like the NFL show, just remember, odd numbers, Total Football Talk 5, that's this one. Well, that's the NFL. Total Football Talk 6, that's the next one. That's college football. Odds are NFL, evens are college. So you want to watch both, but if you have a preference on one or the other, well, watch one or the other. We prefer you to watch both. Keep commenting, keep liking, keep tagging. I'm excited. I think the Rams are about to be 3-0, and I think it's going to be a good, tough game going into Minnesota. Eric, anything you want to wrap up with?
We might be seeing the start of the Baker Mayfield era, and we could be talking about him a little bit more next week.
Cool. I'm Anthony.
I'm Eric.
Go Rams, and